Additive bilingualism. Additive bilingualism is what the term shows. It talks about learning of two languages. So a child has one language, the child moves on to learn another language, and the end product is that the child has two languages. Now, although I'm talking about a child, it equally applies to all the learners. So, effectively, it means learning and maintaining of two languages and valuing them. This model has been presented by Lambert in 1975 and encouraged in certain countries. So, we are talking about adding to the linguistic repertoire or the capital that the learners possess. We are not talking about teaching them a language in a way that they forget or they leave out their previous language. So this concept entails that two languages, each equivalent to a monolingual repertoire. Now, there is a slight problem over here. The problem over here is that a bilingual is conceived or conceptualized in terms of a person who has two languages. Yes, the person has two languages, but somehow when this type of additive bilingualism is tested or assessed, it is assessed in terms of monolingual norm in each language. So it is seen that when in this model it is seen that if a person knows two languages and maintains them, then it means like he or she is almost like two monolinguals together, two complete linguistic repertoires together. Now, this lacks an integrated approach. This is not how bilinguals are, because when they learn the second language and they have good command over the both languages, the functions that they use these languages for might be different. And when you are testing their bilingualism and trying to see whether they equate with another monolingual in one language and another monolingual in the other language, then they might somehow appear as somewhat deficient in those languages because the reasons or the functions they use these languages for are different. Now, this type of additive bilingualism or this model was a result of Canadian bilingual identity that was declared in 1969. Now, it has been quite influential in certain countries. I would say it is quite influential even now and even in Pakistan also in terms of assessment. So this does not have that kind of positive effect. In certain countries, it has a negative effect. For instance, let me explain the thing in Pakistani context. So when you are testing them, you use this monolingual norm or criteria according to which you are testing their linguistic repertoires. What we are not seeing is that monolinguals are different from bilinguals. And once you become a bilingual, whether it is through formal education or informally, then the way you use those languages are quite different, and you can't compare them with the competence of a monolingual in a specific language, because the monolingual is forced to use the same language for all the different purposes. So naturally, that person will somehow engage with that one language to an extent that a bilingual will not. Because the bilingual will use another linguistic repertoire to bring in those functions or to satisfy the communicative needs. So as we said before, that bilinguals would mean, or if we take it not to that extreme of which we talked about just now, we need to see that additive bilingualism, or the way we look at it, is the way to go ahead, but it needs an integrated approach. For instance, if you want your child to learn English language, yes, very good. But the child becomes a doctor, goes to work in a rural area, or all right, does not even go to serve in a rural area. The child works in this hospital, and there is this OPD. He or she gets these patients from this rural context, and this rural person, which is very likely in Pakistan as it happens, is not able to speak English language, or is not even able to speak Urdu language. How would you connect with him or her? How would you treat that patient? Or how would you connect with the marginalized communities who don't even have access to education? So maybe with an integrated model, but extremely important to think about adding on languages, but with a certain care that this does not mean that a bilingual is 1 plus 1, that is two monolinguals together.